I'll be talking about accommodation. For the Euro Cup 2012, Ukraine is basically expecting 500,000 people of influx just from tourism alone. As of now, both the quality and quantity of accommodation in Ukraine is lacking. The bulk of that population will probably be housed in lower rated hotels, those below 4 stars, and that is probably the biggest lacking sector of hotels there right now. The company that, IMTCMEI has taken a lead on the important aspect of infrastructure by partnering with the Wyndham Hotel Group, and they are going to be building complexes in 2 of the main cities. As far as stadiums, UEFA has ratings ranging from Category 1 to Elite. For the purposes of the Euro Cup, all the stadiums are required to be Category 3 and above. The requirements include seating for all spectators with a minimum of 3,000, a VIP box, media area and press box, and 2 television studios. This, of course, doesn't include all the other amenities that are needed for the actual game, such as locker rooms, warm-up areas, and the actual pitch. All stadiums are expected to be completed a year before they're actually used, and thus far Ukrainian authorities and UEFA has seen that those deadlines are being met.
I'm Joe, and I'll be just emphasizing some of the points regarding the potential target investment. And from an investor perspective, I will say we have to see Ukraine first as a former Soviet Union state, by which the regulations and law are completely in the same category in the proximity of the countries surrounding it, such as Russia and the other Soviet Union states. And for Westerners, such as us in the West Hemisphere, where we have the mature market, Ukraine actually doesn't. Therefore, the laws and regulation are going to be a bit complicated since we have to consider the corruption and bribery factor. And second, we have to see Ukraine as an emerging market, which is a new business opportunity, which many of the West European companies, those are moving from contender to extend their strategy, are spending furthermore in Ukraine. And third, see Ukraine as a transition economy because as a result of countless failure in the past after getting its independence from Russia in 1991, Ukraine is currently trying to move from a government-controlled economy type to a capitalist type of economy. And emphasizing once more in the target market venue, IMTCMEI is dealing with the accommodation and transportation. As mentioned in the previous slides, Ukraine right now doesn't look really quite at it, quite advanced with its roadways or even like in the airport with the pavement. It's not really there where the UEFA wants it to be. And moving forward on the present challenge. First, as mentioned before by my team members, Ukraine has a lot of old and completed infrastructure, and therefore it presents a very, very big challenge for IMTCMEI in terms of it has to work its way from the bottom up. It's not like it will come if the Euro Cup were to take place in a country like France or Germany, like Ukraine pretty much has to, with Ukraine, MEI has to start from the bottom up. And moving forward with the lack of transparency, early on, when he first received the quote-unquote the proclamation that he was going to co-host the Euro Cup with Poland, Ukraine was given 12 billion euro, which was completely poorly unaccounted for, and therefore rose a lot of questions. And going more in the news recently, the German Chancellor was completely against the $16 billion that they were supposed to give to Ukraine by the EU, and that created a lot of disturbance as far as moving forward with the project. And third, the current economic crisis, the credit crunch, which has impacted the entire globe. Ukraine pretty much puts in a very difficult position, but even though out of that difficulty, a lot of people are seeing it as a great business opportunity, as far as development, it's sort of like delaying the forwarding of the infrastructure that was supposed to be already right way ahead compared to Poland. And as far as clients, IMTCMEI is not planning on investing totally in Ukraine, because since he already has an office prior to getting the contract of project managing Ukraine, and it's just working directly with the Ukrainian government. And second, it's backed up with a lot of private investors. And those are the private investors that I spoke of. We have the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. We have the Exim banks from the International Financing Corporation, European investment banks, and this is just like those are the primary investors that we're talking about, the backbone of the Euro Cup 2012.
So in respect for entry into the Ukrainian market, IMTCMEI has several strengths and opportunities. But on that same token, they also face several threats and have several weaknesses. So as my colleagues mentioned, they established a permanent office in Kyiv, and that kind of shows that they really do want to enter the Ukrainian market and want to stay there for a long time. Furthermore, as Joel just mentioned, they're part of several organizations, including the U.S.-Ukraine Business Council, British-Ukraine Chamber of Commerce. This is definitely going to plateau them into a leadership position, and also give them more networking skills, give them insight as to the the market that they're entering, and also hopefully give them more investors as well. Technological expertise, as seen through their flash track methodology, is unmatched, and the fact that they are a Western company coming into this really rural kind of environment definitely gives them some kind of strength, and their quality, ethics, and safety is definitely key. It's looked at well no matter where you are in the world. But at the same time, the fact that this company is known to deal with catastrophic rebuild is certainly a disadvantage. And a lot of what they're dealing with in the Ukrainian market is new projects, starting from scratch, which they're not used to. It can definitely be seen as a weakness, but as we mentioned, they're doing projects with Wyndham Hotels right now, which they're starting from scratch. If they continue those projects, they can certainly turn that weakness into an opportunity or into a strength. And looking at the UEFA 2012, Ukraine is in a position where they have to develop their infrastructure. And the UEFA has told them several times, you're falling behind on your development. So if you don't develop it, we're not going to give you the bid. That being said, a lot of these bids are given out really quickly right now, and Ukraine is doing everything they can to make sure everything goes well. As long as IMTC can continue building their presence in the market, they can definitely turn these weaknesses into strengths. Some of the threats that they face, however, is, again, Ukraine is on the verge of bankruptcy. There's speculation that they will default. And a lot of investors are pulling out from these bids that they once said that they would leverage, and now saying they don't want anything to do with it. IMTC can definitely override this by bringing their own investors in instead of relying on investors in the market. So that being said, I'm going to hand it off to one of my colleagues.
As we said earlier several times, the company is already in Ukraine, so their market entry strategy is more based on adapting to the environment, as you can tell. Ukraine is a developing market, and unlike a developed market, Ukraine may not be able to provide services and labor as quickly and readily available as in a developed market. IMTCMEI tends to seek materials and labor within the environment that they work in to save on cost, as well as to develop those regions. And they must be ready for or prepared to expect certain delays and possible extensions on deadlines. Their previous experience with construction and laying out surrounding